everybody, and welcome to How To Tuesday this week. And this week I have a special guest. His name is Jensen, and he's also known as Flukemaster. I thought he would be one of the best people I could possibly bring in to go over this topic, which is how to teach a kid to fish. Gene has a tremendous amount of experience teaching the Boy Scouts, and on his YouTube channel, Flukemaster, he is constantly teaching people how to fish. So, Gene, if you were to tell in just a few minutes, in a simple way, how to teach a kid how to fish for somebody that may not know how to fish themselves, what is it that you would tell them?
Well, first of all, I understand how stressful it is to teach your children or teach a child how to fish. It can be extremely stressful. So I've come up with a few things that you can do to reduce that stress. And the first thing is leave your gear at home. Take only the child's gear if you go fishing. But before you go fishing, teach that child how to cast. Don't do it on the water. Go out in the yard, go in a field, grab a 5-gallon bucket, grab a 1/4-inch nut, tie that nut onto the end of that line, and teach them how to cast. Teach them how to look behind them to see what they're going to hit on their back cast. Teach them how to cast back and forth. If you have multiple children, it's even better because then they can look after each other. If they hit each other in the back of the head with a nut, it's a lot better than a hook. But you put a few 5-gallon buckets out. It's not a casting for distance contest. It's a short casting contest to start with and then move it back. But there's something about the noise a 5-gallon bucket makes when it's hit by a 1/4-inch nut that is exciting to the kids. And if you're doing it in your backyard, you'll find that you'll be in fixing dinner and your kids are in the backyard having competitions with each other. And they did that with me. You know, I had a 4-inch PVC pipe that I cut into little pieces and they would move them around the yard and I'd have to hit the PVC pipe and they could hit the 5-gallon buckets. Teach them that. And that's a lot of the stress. And I'm going to go back to leave your stuff at home. You're guiding your children and don't expect yourself to be able to fish, at least for a little while. Then when you're out on the water now, and I'm not saying that I'm going to remove all the stress because I still take my kids fishing and it gets stressful over a period of time. But to reduce that, another thing is to just be there for them and understand that it might get boring. Okay, and those kids are going to be like, Daddy, I want to go home. My rule of thumb is on the third time they ask, go home. Don't go home on the first time. Don't go home on the second time, but on that third time, it means they are really bored. Go home, pack up your stuff and go home. Go back out the next week, do it again. And you'll find that time gets longer and longer and longer because you're extending it over that period of time by just waiting till the third time they say, I'm bored. I've got an older son who gets bored even when you're catching fish, you know, and it got to the point where he was old enough where I didn't go home. I just kicked his tail in the water and let him go swimming while I was catching fish and made sure he's in a life jacket, of course. But, it's the biggest thing is to understand that your job is to get that child to catch a fish. And number 2 is the tackle. Make sure it's decent tackle. Don't get the Walmart special. Let them pick out their rod, but try to steer them away from the Barbie rod and the SpongeBob SquarePants rod and that kind of stuff because those tend to be a little frustrating. Number 2 is get small hooks and use live bait and a bobber. You're wanting to catch any fish. To a child, a 3-inch fish is a trophy.
Yep.
I've got a video somewhere of my son, and I've got a video about how to teach kids how to fish, and all this stuff's on that video. But I've got my son holding up a fish, saying, "Daddy, it's a trophy." It was a 5-inch bass. I caught a trophy, and we were bank fishing on the river behind the house. And you just got to understand that it has nothing to do with big fish. It has everything to do with just getting out there, letting them cast, and hopefully they catch a small little bluegill on a little bitty worm. And then graduate to soft plastics and that kind of stuff later on. And it may take a couple, 2 or 3 years, but the biggest, just be patient with them. And if your frustration level gets high, which mine does on quite a few occasions, take a deep breath, step back and just let them fish, walk away for a minute and just let them fish and do their thing. And, a lot of times they're going to come at you, especially with multiple children, and everybody's going to be tangled. Do one at a time. It's just... That's the biggest thing. And I'll go back to a story I was talking to an older lady, one of the nurses at the hospital I worked at, and she told me, she goes, "I hate to fish." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because my grandfather used to force me to stay out all day long and fish while he fished." and she to that day could not stand to go fishing because as a child she was forced to go fishing. Don't ever force them. It'll come along, and have fun with it, and enjoy the little bitty fish that they catch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent advice. And if I could add one more thing for safety, make sure that they're wearing some sunglasses, especially if you have multiple kids and short rods, because I find that they need to have tackle that suits them. So a shorter rod is definitely better because they can handle it. But that short rod, they don't know what they're doing, and they turn around this way, and that rod goes right in the face of the other kid. And a rod tip in the eye is definitely going to spoil a day. A fish hook in the eye is definitely going to spoil a day. I found that sunglasses are absolutely mandatory for anybody that is fishing, and the adult too. Because those short little rods also go into your face when there's a tangle, and they turn around and say, "Can you fix this?" And it goes right in your eye. So excellent advice from the Flukemaster. And if you want to find that video, go to YouTube, search Flukemaster, and then look up how to fish. Would that get them there?
The title of the video is "How to Teach Kids How to Fish."
How to teach kids how to fish.
Me and my wife sitting on the back porch telling stories and sharing videos. So
yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for the advice, and I appreciate it. Go to Flukemaster, check him out. That's it for this week, How To Tuesday. See you next week.